Something's killing it. Car runs fine. What's killing it? We're gonna swap these in and we are gonna get this car on the road. Literally on the road. I'll bring my phone in case we break down, but we're only just gonna drive up and down the street.
I need this car to idle. The reason I brought this car back was because the guys in Austria have to have the diff pieces by the 30th of November. Whoa. And I have to overnight them there, which could cost like $1 million. But that's the reason I brought it back, because like, I can't run them after that. It's gonna be 6 more months. So these pieces need to get out of this car and be sent over there so they can make them. This is not good. I need a new front diff. We're gonna just completely disassemble this diff and just see what it looks like on the inside. Maybe we can rebuild it. It just seems pretty special. We have a small issue with these here. It looks a lot worse than it really is. There's a lot of grease in there, but as you can see, there's some pitting right there. So we need to replace these ends, and Bugatti sells them for a mere $50,000. We now have to call Ricardo and beg them to sell us these small little pieces here. So I'm hoping that that's a possibility. Like, if we get the car to idle, we can't test drive it. Right. We've got to get those pieces made. So like, that whole entire time of us trying to get the car running and moving and everything is going to be a waste if we don't get those pieces out. Because we're going to be all, yeah, let's drive, let's put it in gear and go, and then we can't move.
So we need to pull parts off the car and not worry about whether it runs or not.
No, it can idle. Went to the dealer because everybody's wondering why. Because I wasn't able to program the ECUs. It's really not something that I can do, you know? They don't sell Bugatti software. We can't even really check the engine codes on the car, so had to go there. But while I was there, I was like, hey, why don't you guys look over it? We've got a lot of other projects going on. Maybe I missed something. And it turns out I did miss something like crazy important. I don't know, for some reason we forgot to replace the fuel pumps. So we left the original fuel pumps in the car and they were broken. It was actually not the fuel pumps that are broken, it was the lines that are broken. They were pumping fuel, we were hearing fuel pressure, we were hearing the fuel pumps working when we were trying to start it before. Went to the dealer, but the lines were so brittle, they snapped in the tank and they were just pumping into the tank itself. So we got a whole new pump assembly installed. They did that for me over there, which is great because that's a really messy job, and we had a full tank of fuel. But now the car starts and it dies, and I'm trying to figure out why it dies. I believe it's likely O2 related, and then the dealer thinks it's the fuel pump modules. I happen to have a spare set of fuel pump modules, so I feel like we could probably easily discover what the issue is within a day's worth of work.
I mean, you're not going to ship these axle parts out today, right?
No.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't have a time issue.
The axles are another thing we can do. That's separate, but to get the car started, I mean, we have an oil pressure fault, which could easily be just this sensor here. Something's killing it. Car runs fine. What's killing it? What? I can rev the engine. What was that?
Oh, that's...
I think it's gonna spit so
There
much
was a
fire.
flame that came out too.
It's gonna spit so much fire.
Just did.
Yeah.
Mike has no eyebrows now.
Yeah, like spit so much fire. I don't have an engine light. It literally goes away immediately. The brakes
There's an oil pressure sensor or temperature, I'm not sure which one it is, down at the bottom that we never replaced that was leaking when we first started working on the car. I'd like to replace that.
Yeah, buddy.
It runs good.
You've seen the flames.
What's the problem? That's crazy. It's got to be oil pressure.
If it is oil pressure, the issue could and should shut it off.
I mean,
I just don't know if it's programmed that way.
Yeah. We thought we had it all figured out. The car would crank, but it wouldn't fire. We went through everything. We were getting fuel, we were getting spark. It just didn't make any sense, and it would give us a glimmer of hope. It would start to fire, but it would never like stay running. And if I hit the fuel or hit the pedal, it would like burble a little bit, but we couldn't really figure out why, if everything was new, what the issue was.
So I'm gonna cut in here and talk about this just for a second, because one thing that we very much so failed on during this build series is filming every small detail, right? We didn't have cameras rolling the whole time, and so a lot of stuff that we put on and we actually worked on the car didn't get filmed. And so this kind of integral part of the video is kind of confusing, and so I wanted to cut in and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. The car went to O'Gara Coach, and you see in the last video, to get all the ECUs programmed. And then we found out that Andy and I missed, I mean, honestly, just me, missed the fact that we didn't replace the fuel pumps in the car. It was ridiculous. I cannot believe we did. We cleaned out the fuel tank, we looked at the pumps, and I don't know what happened. We just didn't replace them. Crazy, it happens, whatever. When we were trying to start the car prior to the ECUs being programmed, we heard them and they worked, but the lines were so brittle, they broke, and so the fuel was only staying in the tank circulating, right? So O'Gara says, all right, cool, we're gonna program the ECUs, we're gonna get the car running, and then they replace the fuel pumps, they get it all dialed in, but when they turn the car on, it only starts for like 5 seconds. They troubleshot it for, oh my God, probably 2 or 3 months, right? They couldn't figure it out. They said, oh, you got to replace all these modules. Bugatti can't figure this out. An engineering team was involved. Everybody was involved. I'm spending like this crazy amount of money on this, like crazy. Like hourly rates are astronomical to have them work on it. They've got other Bugattis in there, and they were actually doing construction in O'Gara Coach at this time, and they really wanted my car to leave. So I said, I'll pick it up and I'll figure it out. Well, the car kind of sat around for a month or two, and we were going back and forth trying to target these things. But one day, I'm literally just walking by the car. I swear to you, we weren't even working on it, right? We were just walking by the car, and I like looked over out of the corner of my eye, and it was all disassembled at the time because we had been working on it in the past week. And right where the fuel pumps go, there's like this little circle. It's about this big, and there's 2 connectors on it. And there is a group of wires. There's 2 connectors. It goes in and out basically. Now, one of the wires looked completely out of place. Like it was like really long and it was really stretched. Like it kind of didn't make any sense. And then the other one had like a lot of slack. And I was like, I literally remember thinking, like, my heart sank. I was like, no way. There's no way this is what happened. So without telling anybody, I swapped the connectors. I reversed them. The harnesses look normal at that point. I grab the key, I get in the car, and I just turn the car on, push the start button, and bang, fires right up. Like, without any hesitation, no gurgle, no, just fires right up. And Andy looks at me like, what did you do? And I'm like, the harness was backwards, bro. So when they installed the fuel pumps, they put the harness backwards. We all chased our tail for 3 months, and well, now we're here, and we're able to start working on it again. Today is an absolutely wonderful day. I am so excited that I can't even think about what I'm saying. We're, let's see, so close to 2 years into this project, and it's almost surreal that we're literally crossing the finish line, and today the final pieces arrived. So just to give a little bit of a recap, I haven't made a video in close to 2 to 3 months because we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. So the car has been sitting here essentially for, I mean, literally a few months that we haven't done anything to it. What's in this box is probably the most significant part of any vehicle because it allows the car to move, right? It's the differential. But I want to open this box. I want to show you guys that it's just, there's so much to every little piece of a car. And when we first started this project, I estimated $300,000 to $400,000 of parts, give or take, and we've exceeded that number by hundreds of %. So Mike's opening the box now. The reason we needed these pieces is because the front diff, number one, was destroyed in the impact of the crash. The rear diff, and I'll show you guys when you see these pieces, had some damage to it. I sent pieces out to get replaced and repaired. We're unable to get the metal to recreate the pieces that were damaged. So I was forced to purchase new differentials, front and rear, for the car. So here you have the rear diff and the front diff. The majority of the Bugatti is an aluminum and carbon fiber car. This is a very unique metal. I have no clue what metal it is. And a lot of people probably don't even have an idea. It's probably a mixed metal. This semi started to rust in the OEM pieces, and I had them. I sent them off to Europe for them to be remanufactured by a company that specializes in drive shaft components. But they were unable to source that metal, and it's been a few months. Like, we now have the final piece that we can just swap in, and it goes in. The front drive shaft has this Halodex on it. And we also have a brand new ABS unit because ours had a small leak, and that's right here. Let me show you. So, ABS unit from the factory. There's some hardware, but let's open this up. This piece here also gave us some really big issues. There was some pinhole leaks in a bunch of these little components. So this is the brake master cylinder. Wow. So we replaced the brake master cylinder as well as the ABS unit. So we're going to put all brand new lines in there and get everything dialed in. So we had a pretty stiff pedal that I didn't really like. So we swapped out the actual master cylinder part up here, but because that part is not Bugatti centered, that piece is right there. So this piece was fine. That piece was giving us some leaks. It didn't work. The other piece didn't really fit perfectly, so we end up opting for the OEM unit. So we've got new ABS, new master cylinder, brand new front diff. We already have the brand new front axles and the brand new rear diff. We're gonna swap these in and we are gonna get this car on the road, literally on the road. We lost the front diff in the accident, right? That's long gone, sorry, we lost him. This guy here, what we lost is these pieces. We could just pop these out and put them in there and we're all good to go. But this was like more than a BMW 7 Series. And so I just feel so bad with all these sensors and all this stuff and all these lines. If we do that, we could literally do this here in probably 30 to 45 minutes and then we could drive the car. But I've learned not to be impatient with this car because it is a very, very, very sensitive project. And I just don't want to drive down the road and then blow the diff apart and then have to like take anything else with it.
We're ready to put the master cylinder in, and this is kind of an exciting spot for me actually, because when we put in the original one, we did not have this part, and I had to actually make these from scratch without ever having seen them before. I'll show you what they look like. Basically a retaining pin that goes completely through so it's flush on this side, and then this piece has flat sides on it so that it locks in here and can't spin, and that way when you put this in you can tighten it down without having a wrench or anything on it. This is what I made, having never seen that before. Same thing, a little bit different shape. And this screws in, well, I can't do it by my fingers, but it screws in all the way. It gives you a flush. There's a bracket in the car that this goes between so that nothing can stick out. Well, this is the computer that controls the valve block, which controls your anti-lock braking, stability control, traction control, whatever you want to call it, whatever car you got. I think they call it the ESP on this one. But it died, so we're going to replace it.
Here is the diff. Now we got to remove a couple little lines and some stuff to move it out, but that actually is not going to be a bad thing. I'm kind of excited to remove some of these lines and everything to just kind of rework what we did. We did a great job with it, but you know, it's always nice to just kind of like double check.
I have found the drive shaft.
I wasn't going to put the drive shaft in. Just going to put the front diff in.
Okay.
My intention was to keep it rear wheel drive, but with the drive shaft, with the front diff plugged in, I would get rid of the error, because when it's unplugged, there's an error.
Is that what you did with your last one? You took the drive shaft out? You took the axles out, right?
The axles broke on the last one, so I removed them. So the drive shaft was still there.
Right.
I was intending to take the drive shaft out if it caused an error, but for some reason the error was only in Nevada. When I would drive in California, there'd be no error. I don't really understand it, but. Bring my phone in case we break down, but we're only just gonna drive up and down the street. It is the most, I can't explain to you. I'm scared.
You shouldn't be.
I'm legitimately scared. Like, we're 2 years into this. I mean, it's really like 22 months, but this has been a long time coming, man. And we're gonna drive this car down the street, and it's gonna be, I don't know. Okay, so it's so low right now because the computer for the wing and the suspension isn't like calibrated. So we have to what's it called? Take it to them so that they can calibrate it so the car will lift up. Because right now it's just sitting on like bags. Let's get some boost on here. I don't got no brakes. Oh, Jesus Christ. It goes in reverse. I do smell coolant. It's probably not that big of a deal. Brakes feel much better right now.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
That's cool. I can hear the front fans are on, so the cooling system's working. Your temperature's okay?
Unfortunately, this car doesn't give me, it only gives me an oil temperature. Doesn't give me a actual coolant temperature. Although it says that's coolant temperature, it's really not.
Well, as long as it's stable, I'm okay with that.
All right, I'll put a couple more miles on it, and we'll see.
Okay.
If I call you,
Just be careful with the nose.
have the tow truck ready. Good. Shifts beautifully. Beautifully. Don't forget it's rear-wheel drive. It had rear-wheel drive. I just punched it down the back street, spun the tires, and well, they said it couldn't be done, but here we are, boys. Basically just closed my eyes and just couldn't believe that the thing actually worked. You know, you want it to work, right? You want it to just continue to do well, but there's always in the back of your mind, like, the engine's gonna explode. And we hit like the biggest snag ever that day. I drove it 2 miles and the world just came crashing down.